We have seen this in the recent past many times. We have seen this in our day-to-day work. We have seen this in our personal lives. How many of you went from paper-based receipts or bills to paperless? Show of hands. And we do that because we have an incentive to do that. We do that because it's convenient sometimes. And we have seen this before. We are doing this just because we have an incentive, right? Now, what is that we have in terms of running day-to-day business when we are dealing with agencies, when we are at our workplace? Now, if I have to define what paperless means, we can simply say that we are no longer using paper. Is it that? When Dan gave me this bunch of paper, I'm doing this, but if I'm not speaking the same language, which means if the applications are not speaking the same language, although you are shunning paper out, but you are still crippled because your systems are not speaking to each other. Example, a classic example is how your systems are talking. For example, your financial systems are speaking to your MMS or your EMS or your PMS systems. How these are integrated and how they are talking the same language, that's how things are getting more efficiently done, right? Now, I would like to change the definition a little bit. What I would like to say is we are going towards more effective and efficient alternatives when we are saying going paperless. So we're not going to talk about paperless anymore. We're going to be talking about effective and efficient alternatives. I think that's where we are headed now. So that's our destination. So it's no longer paperless, but this is our destination. And we'll see how in Alaska we are doing this. Now, if that is our destination, let's look at our directions. So we have technology and platforms that we are going to use. So technology and platforms. Now we are going to do that, take it, and empower our end users. Right? That's what we are trying to do in our agencies. Now, we are empowering them with data management and analysis. We have analytical systems where we do analysis and optimization. We have management systems. MMS is a classic example. And we all do this to address our reporting and regulation. So we all know what that is. So we have these 4 basic parameters. We are taking technology, we are empowering our users with data management and analysis, and then we are helping them out to address reporting and regulation. Now with that said, I'm going to go into the example of Alaska here. And this picture, when my colleague went out for training in the month of February, it's 30 below zero every single day. So things are a little bit extreme in Alaska, and that's where I'm inviting Dan to come and share what we are doing.
Thank you, Sam. So you're going to get to see the Alaska real story. So anybody remember the Flintstones as a kid? Anybody see that? Yeah, okay. So the modern Stone Age family, we got a little bit of a spin on that. We're the modern Stone Age DOT. And we're going to show you where we started at. We might not win the Axiom Award today, but I can tell you when you look at this and see where we're at today from where we were or where we're going to be in a month or two from where we are today, you're going to be amazed because we really are doing things the old-fashioned way. So we're building on our system, the MMS, the EMS, and the PMS, an integrated solution. We have old standalone homegrown solutions. We have a system we bought that's an old DOS-based solution that was our original MMS program. It's basically right now a glorified timesheet program. I can get nothing out of that without the help of an analyst programmer that has to go pull reports from the internet, not out of that system, out of the internet. So it's very frustrating, very difficult when you need to answer questions, especially answering questions quickly. When the legislature says, tell me how much you spent doing this, we can't do that. It takes days, if not weeks, to get answers. This system is integrated with our IRIS financial system and our IRIS human resource system, along with the bridge management system and numerous other systems. They're all tied together. It's an integrated solution instead of the old standalone solution. We're doing the mobile work manager and the Esri collector. PMS is going to use the Esri collector to gather their data. We're going to use Esri collector to gather our data. With the mobile work manager, our asset inventory is so small in Alaska that we're hoping that we're going to get an accurate enough snapshot or picture as we go out and work on our assets that we're going to build our asset inventory that way. The other way we're trying to build our asset inventory is to try to buttress our QA/QC program with federal help. Instead of our normal 500 segments that we survey every year to report to the legislature, we've asked for an increase in funding to get 3,000 sections for the next 3 years. So if we can get that, we'll be able to get some more of our asset inventory into this system, and we'll better be able to tell our story, better be able to manage those assets that we're required to report in our transportation asset management program. Again, like I say, we are just barely putting our toe in the water in asset management. We're brand new, and we really don't know or how to manage this type of program or where it's really going to go. So it's an adventure for us, and we're always looking for help. I know Louisiana said they'd come help us fish anyway. So, standard. This is no kidding what hangs in our main office right now in Fairbanks. This is a pothole request, repair request. All handwritten, all taken by either observation, direct observation by our crews or the public calling in. That is our workflow right now. We got a date that we reported it and a date that we fixed it. And the semi-close location. At least it's on the road segment. Some of our road segments are 50 miles long. It's on the Richardson Highway somewhere. Go find it. So, obviously, like I say, you're seeing the warts and all right here. This is exactly our business process as of today. So, work request comes in. The foreman takes that off that handwritten note, puts it on his handwritten work plan for the day, hands it to a crew member who goes out, performs that task, brings it back, reports it to the foreman, who puts it on another form, who puts it on another form, who gives it to the admin, who puts it in our MMS system, and voila, we got a pothole fixed. Same thing happens with our guardrail. You're seeing a repair request. Do we have guardrail damage? Do we have fence damage? The date it was reported on and the date we fixed it. If we happen to have a case number up here, we'll put that right on there with it so we can try to track some of these costs and gather some of our costs back from the insurance company or from the motorist that did the damage. If we don't have any kind of case number to attach to that, we do not get any kind of reimbursement. So we do a lot of asking of our Alaska State Troopers or Fairbanks Police Department to come and take a look at something and assign a case number to that, even if they haven't visited that site yet. So they just randomly will stick up case numbers for us and send us a form anymore. They're trying to help us out. Again, another picture that is in our front office. You have different crews that put their daily work reports in there. Everything is still the paper-based process. Takes up a lot of time, and again, the chance for error is huge because you're transferring data so many times in this process that it's just, if one person puts it in wrong, that that data is going to continue to be wrong all the way through. So very difficult situation. Again, another good picture of that. So this is the actual work report that our operators will fill out. Tells us what they did that day. This operator had to do some OSHA training, so I figured that was innocuous enough to put up there that we do some training in Alaska. But this is something that each foreman is gathering up, putting it on a spreadsheet, giving it to our admin, and again, the admin will then put it into the MMS system so that our folks can get paid, and we know how much equipment time we use. Material costs, we don't even worry about it in this system because we don't have accurate costs in there. The weird thing with this system is if you go back and update a material cost, say asphalt was $58 a ton last year, this year it was $62 a ton, it cleans up everything in the whole system all the way back to the beginning. So your costs are done. We quit tracking material costs because it really doesn't make sense to us. So with that, when we're doing projects, capital improvement projects, and we have to track those costs, we're running spreadsheets. All of the supervisors are running spreadsheets so we can keep an actual running total of what we're spending so we don't overspend that project. Because you know what happens when you overspend a CIP project? It comes right out of your operating budget to make up the shortfall. So we try to be very careful. So a lot of homegrown systems running in the background here. Sam, who took that picture? 27 below zero. I believe you took that picture, didn't you? So Sam was up there at 27:30 below zero. He had some fun. Got to do a few things out there. He actually got to see some ice carvings, got to see some moose. So we had a good time when he was up there. But this is basically a summary of what's going on in our district. We have remote stations. We have summits, mountain passes that we have to take care of. That's all written out by hand every day by each crew foreman. That's the report that we put in a file that goes in our records that says this is what we did that day. They report on what they did yesterday. Did they do as reported, or did they have to change something? There's today's work plan. It's very simple, very archaic, something that we are definitely looking forward to have improved upon. And the saving of the records. We're hoping that with MMS that will save that. We had a room full of these. We literally went out and bought a 40-foot storage connex, weatherized it so we didn't get any water in it or snow in it, and that is full of those bankers boxes. If you notice on there, I know you probably can't read it, but it says destroy in 2030. That's our record keeping process. We have literally a 40-foot connex full of these things right now, just for our district. Keep in mind there's 7 districts in Fairbanks, or in the northern region. There's 14 districts statewide. So I would assume, I haven't talked to all of them, but I would assume those same kind of records are out there in some form or another in every district. So how are we going to fix that, Sam?
So what we are doing again here in Alaska, so we have seen work requests, reporting work requests, we are repairing, we are reporting back. So we have recording work, reporting work. That's what's happening when Dan presented all those paper-based processes. Now, with MMS, again, I'm not sure how many of you already have it. I'm assuming that you already have it. You know the process. So we are implementing MMS to directly record and report work request in MMS. So once that is done, we need to, of course, go back and do work. So what we are integrating with their ERP systems, in this case, the CJ Advantage Systems, IRIS. So we are getting employees material, and chart of accounts, which is the budget-related details from ERP into MMS. We are taking help of our fleet, our EMS. So you're looking at EMS where we are getting the equipment information. And finally, we are also taking the help of the work manager, the mobile work manager. So you're going to be integrating all these. Again, here, they are all speaking the language which each of them can understand, right? So they're not disconnected. They are helping each other out. All the systems are integrated to have a solution, complete that work, report it back to ERP. You can see that it's a double-sided arrow. So it's going back. The time, usage, everything is going back, and all the systems have data, enough data there. They could pull out reports and report back what they have done, how much it's supposed to be paid, right? So we have seen this. Now, again, my point is, it's not just enough to convert paper-based workflows into application-based processes. It's much more than that. The systems have to be integrated. It has to be the same ecosystem, right? If you buy an iPad, you'll be purchasing something closer to what fits to iPad, but not something to other device, right? So it should be in the same ecosystem if they have to talk to each other. But I know that you laughed when Dan said Flintstone DOT, but I'm sure that each of the agencies here in this room has some part of that Flintstone in your agencies, right? So now, that's when, I know when I talked in my native language, you didn't understand. I said some of it is already done, but some is remaining. That's where I'm handing this over to my next presenter, Uday.
So before we go into the details, how many of us think our agency is 100% efficient? So we started, maybe we are at Alaska at one point. We are not there yet. So that's what I'm going to talk about from Louisiana's perspective. So before we go into the details, Louisiana has been using our system since 2010. And it is not just the web application, but also our mobile application. The mobile application is something like this. If you have attended David's presentation yesterday and today, they refer it as a brick. I'm telling you, you can really kill someone with that. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to focus on just one piece of improving our efficiency, and that's the inspection process. And in that, I'm going to provide you two different examples, one on the signal side and the other one on the overhead sign structures. And why I have chosen this is, one of them is done in-house, and the other one is done by our contractors. So two different things going on, but what we want is to improve our efficiency. So signal inspections. In Louisiana and maybe in most of the other states like Minnesota, West Virginia, and even Montana, there are two types of signal inspections you usually do. One is your construction or installation inspections, which is once you install it and before you open it for public, you want to make sure everything is inspected and it is safe. Every one of us in this room takes safety seriously. So that's what we are trying to do. We want to make sure our signals are safe and people, our consumers, are safer in that. So that's one. And the second type of inspections are preventive maintenance. We just don't build the signal and we leave away. We go back on a routine maintenance, maybe twice a year, spring and fall, or maybe 60 days, or whatever criteria your agency has. So those are the two types of inspections which we do. And if you look at the form, this is not even 1/4 of the items which they are tracking. There are 150 different elements which they are tracking. And if you want to go into the details, we capture nuts and bolts, because each nut and bolt will make everyone safer. So that's how we take safety seriously. But when we go into the preventive maintenance, it is not so much detail, because when we installed our signal, we made sure that the signal is safe, but we go on a routine maintenance basis and identify, okay, these are the main areas where we need to get our inspections done. So this is just the paper forms what we are using at Louisiana at this point. So that's all the work which we talked about signals, that's done in-house by our signal crews, which are usually statewide crews. In most cases, that would be the same, I believe, in other agencies as well. Today morning, we talked about overheads. Patrick was talking about New York overhead sign structures. So you can literally go in and do a full-blown structure inspection for your overhead sign structures, but that's not always the case, because different agencies have different perspective on how to maintain the overhead sign structures. And this in Louisiana is handled by the contractors. So what they do is, there are two things they are trying to do for their overhead sign structures. One is identifying the structures itself, the inspection, the condition of the structure. And two, they're also tracking the panels. So a big overhead sign structure like this, or a cantilever, it has only one sign panel. But if you're driving through an interstate, there are like 10 or 15 panels associated to it. So you also want to see if it is readable, what are the dimensions, and if there are changes that need to be made. So those are the other things which we try to capture. So all said and done, I don't think any agency here would have some gaps or challenges, and why we need to do that. So that's what I'll be focusing on. At this point, as Dan was mentioning, all this data, all this inspection, though they are done, it is stored somewhere in someone's cabinet. And if I need to know the condition of my overhead sign structure or a signal, I don't know it. I have to call someone, maybe Deidre, and Deidre will call someone in the office, and then someone has to go and look at those boxes, literally find out what is the condition of the asset. So I don't have it in hand. And then maintaining the asset data. How many of you use a ARAN vehicle, like a vehicle, to get your condition data for signs or for any other assets? Is it like an yearly basis or like a couple of years once a time? Maybe.
We've only done it once.
Only done it once? Okay. And so that's how we are. We have to spend money and time to get what is our data, where is our data, and how is it at this point. So this is a challenge which we have at Louisiana as well. So this is one of the challenge we are going to address. And then we are all good friends with FHWA. Tomorrow morning they come back to us and say, this is a mandate. It was a recommendation yesterday. So we want to tackle that problem as well. So and we are being proactive in this case. This a guidelines was provided in 2006 or 2009 that your signal inspections or your sign inspections which are related to structures need to be collected. It's a recommendation. There were 18 elements for it, but you can go as deep as you want. So those kind of ones were a recommendation, but eventually there will be a mandate. So we want to make sure we will get there by starting early. And finally, our biggest challenge, if you're dealing with the IT side, is getting access for the contractors. No one wants people to get into the system and do what they're doing. So security and how we have to do it, that was a bigger challenge. So how did we cover the distance? We did a lot of work on the contractor side. We got the maxes. But if you look at the screen, and assuming most of you have seen how the system is, it's divided into two panes. The left side, we cover the inspection details, and the right side, we have the inspection elements. So those 150 elements are all captured in one click of a button. And you can still simplify it, making some of the columns as a mandate, like a pre-populated field, like how we are seeing the condition rating. So your results can be as soon as that. So instead of taking a printout and typing it out or printing it out, you're clicking a click of a button, and all the inspection is ready for you. So Minnesota, West Virginia, and maybe some others, the framework, the architecture is the same for everyone. So that's for the signal inspections. We talked about maintaining asset condition, so that's what I was showing you about signal inspections. So let's do a little deep dive on the sign structures, which are overhead sign structures and cantilever signs. Same kind of framework. You have your inspection details, you have your condition rating, and what we did was we bought the sign panels from your sign inventory. So it's again a click of a button. The system is going to look into your sign structures and your signs, and then it's going to bring all your signs. And then what the inspector has to do is fill few information, which is like the sign text, sign length, and sign height. So once this is done, the contractor's work is done. He's not going to do anything. And it comes back for a DOTD process. The people will look into it, and then they will do the approval. Why do we need to do the approval is we are going to fix one more issue, which is maintaining the asset data. This is going back to your sign inventory and updating your sign data. And we are not done with that yet, because sometimes the data may be incorrect. So we are not going to lose the previous data, and we are going to maintain that in a record history. Most of you have known that. So having said that, we have covered those distances. We are still trying to implement it. We are in the process, but there are few things which we want to get out of it. One, what we'll achieve is we will have the historical condition of my asset, which I don't have now, in a minute of time. I need to find it out and then document it and send it as a report. Two, as we've seen in sign panels, we are now maintaining the asset data. Even though if you want to run your vehicles throughout the entire system for a couple of years, you can do that. But right now, when your contractors are really doing the work for you, now you have it, you have access to it in minutes of time. And three, I want to focus a little bit here because most of us, maybe on the fleet side, maybe on the regular maintenance side, we do preventive maintenance, but it is usually done on timely basis. So I want to take my vehicle and want to do a oil change for every 5,000 miles or maybe something else. But what we are trying to achieve is we are coming up with the condition scores for these assets, which are sign signals. You can expand the same concept anywhere. And then based on your condition, you are going to ask the system to create a preventive maintenance cycle for it. So that's something where we want to go. And once we have the data entered into the system, this is possible. And finally, and this is bigger than everything else, is we want to make sure our consumers are safe on the road. Everything falls back to reporting, which is we want to make sure whatever we have collected, we can nicely present it in a reporting format. And being like a proactive in this case, we will be having FHW, if FHWA mandates this, then we are already there. So if we want to do this, we can't do it alone. And we all have same challenges. From Alaska to Louisiana, we are like so far away, but we have to cover the distance. And we can't do it alone. For efficient processes, I would like to quote from Henry Ford: coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, working together is a success. So let us know, and if you have any processes which can be improved or made efficient, or you can reach out to your peers. Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions, please.
Yes, so let's open maybe to questions in the audience. Anybody working in improving a process? It was very interesting for me to hear the ultimate goal for the organization is really not to become a paperless, but becoming more efficient. Paperless being one of the potential strategies that can lead to that efficiency. Yes?
How do you go about identifying for Alaska, if I can, how do you go about identifying the most inefficient paper system? I mean, do you kind of just look at time it takes, number of steps? I mean, how have you gone about kind of prioritizing that work and what do you go after first?
So what we're looking for is things that is going to give us the most bang for our buck right up front. What we can, take the steps out of the process, cut that down to 1 or 2 steps, then we're hoping for that. One of the things that we're going to do when we implement MMS at least is we're going to go back to our actual frontline foreman with their mobile work manager being able to enter all of their work reports right on site. So, and then even if we aren't connected out there at the work site, which we have a lot of gaps in our connection, they will come back, it will upload automatically to the system with just a push of a button is approve, and away it goes. So a lot of the things you're seeing out there are going to go away. The work requests are going to be generated right in the system as well. So I can see a lot of efficiencies. As far as how much that's going to improve us, I don't know. I'd sure love to find out.
Is there a backlog beyond? I mean, do you have kind of like a roadmap in terms of this is where we're going to achieve this 12 months and then so?
We're pretty much at the mercy of our state security office right now. We have PMS and EMS ready to go until they give us the thumbs up to do all the integrations or the what's the word I'm looking for, Sam? All the interfaces. Thank you. It came. All the interfaces.
He was going to give you something in a different language.
Once we get the approval to do the interfaces, then it'll be a very rapid process for us to deploy.
Thank you.
Any other question? Dan, I was also wondering, so are you thinking at some point maybe in Alaska making kind of evaluation about what the dollar value of those savings can be, maybe in terms of, I don't know, how much storage area you're going to save with all this paper that will disappear? Or
I'm hoping we can quantify that after 2 or 3 years of running. We could get some data to where we know how much this process is actually saving us versus what we know we are going through now. So I think it's easily quantifiable going down the road.
Yeah, that would be really, really interesting. Anyone has any experience that might want to share about where your agency is with regard to becoming paperless or improve efficiency in the process? Everybody's paperless already. Yes.
I'm wondering about your
Let me give you the audio.
experience with collector. I'm wondering about your experience with adopting collector and sort of what the general consensus has been for you and some of the just your workforce and sort of like just a general question about that.
There's very few of us that have seen the collector part of it other than our ISSD folks. Okay. So we're getting to review the process as we implement it. It's not fully implemented yet. It's going to be a very valuable tool depending on, I think it's going to be much more valuable if we can get something as far as a device that's going to have good GPS on it. The more accurate the GPS, the more accurate we're going to be with the locations. The more accurate with locations, the better your data is going to be. I can see that when we started this, the Esri folks told us they could provide everything 7 digits beyond the 0 for your location. We can't provide that kind of accuracy in the devices we can afford. You'd need military grade GPS, and we can't provide that. So it's going to be close, but not 1,000 or 100% exact. I guess I would say it's close enough for our maintenance purposes anyway, and it's going to be interesting. Just seeing things pop up on it as we put things into the system is a great tool for us.
This may apply to other states as well, but specifically to Alaska. If you're trying to go paperless in the field, do you have to account for such low temperatures and having those mobile devices working, and especially the touch devices? How do you deal with that?
We have to keep them warm enough to function. I can tell you, just my smartphone in my pocket, when it's cold outside walking around, it stops working. So we have to make sure that they stay warm enough to stay functional. Yes, that's going to be a challenge. You will not leave a device outside in a vehicle overnight. It will have to come in and warm up and reboot itself, and they don't like the cold, no.
We have to keep ours cold. Because ours will overheat. Seriously, they will overheat in a second.
Right.
That's Louisiana, right? Any other
Two
questions?
swampy states, just different challenges.
Dan, I was also curious, and maybe that might apply to Louisiana, if when going through those automation in terms of a process, moving it from paper to a mobile app, is that entails also maybe reviewing some of the processes you already have, like, oh, because we have an app now that will drive us to do this that way, it's probably better or more efficient to do this in a completely different way, in addition to just going electronic?
It's definitely forcing us to look at our processes. We have some ideas of how we're going to go there. Once we are ended up going live, I think we'll have a much better idea when we've actually got experience in it. I can tell you that the younger generation of employee is excited as can be about this process. The old timers are a little bit more hesitant. They've done things the same way a very long time, and it's very comforting to them. When they walk into that office in the morning, they can look up there and they know, okay, I've got more work to do, and this is our priorities. We know we got to go fill potholes first, and then we work our way down from there. We take care of the emergencies first, and then we do our normal routine work. So it's going to be a challenge to get some of them on board. I know that, but once I think they see the benefit of it and the savings that we can do, or the savings we can realize, especially for our admin folks, that they'll buy in.